Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about urges. What is an urge? An urge is similar to a craving. It is a strong desire or an impulse to do something that we are resisting against. The urge comes from the primitive brain, and this is the part of the brain that says, I want what I want when I want it. And then the prefrontal cortex is the reasoning part of our brain. So, to make it simpler, you can think about it this way that the primitive brain is impulsive and the frontal brain is reasoning. And then you get to decide which part of your brain do you want to use to get to results. There's only one part of your brain that's actually going to get you to results. Hint, frontal lobe. So urges can range from a lot of different things like food cravings, alcohol cravings. It's a craving to do any activity that is overdone or it doesn't serve us. This could include things like shopping, sex, drugs. I think you get the idea. Most of us have unintentionally taught ourselves to over desire certain types of urges, and the most common is food, so I'm going to use that as an example. What happens when you give into an urge? Well, you get a dopamine hit. Who doesn't love a good dopamine hit? Dopamine is our pleasure hormone, but it can become addicting because when we give into these overly stimulating urges, then we're saturating the dopamine receptor sites with dopamine and it becomes addicting because when we go back to baseline normal, that doesn't feel normal to us. It feels low. Okay. So when we talk about food, these are mainly going to be processed foods, but not always to be overstimulating. You don't get a dopamine hit from eating a veggie stir fry that's twice as big as you should have eaten. Veggies don't really do that, neither do fruits. Most foods that grow from the ground do not give us a dopamine hit, maybe subtly, but it's the processed foods that will be so incredibly overstimulating to the brain, and that's where we get into trouble. And when we give in to the urge, what it does is it reinforces the urge. And sometimes we try to resist it. We're trying to white knuckle it. That's a lot like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. But it's really just a period of time before we cave and, ooh, that beach ball comes flying out of the water. So, what I'm going to do is teach you how to sit with your urges. And if you're thinking that sounds difficult, you could be right. It can be difficult. So go into it with the understanding that you won't have nailed this in a day or maybe even in a week, that it's going to take time. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example of how to do it. So the urge comes up and you're not going to respond to the urge. And then what? Well, there are going to be some thoughts and there are going to be some feelings. Some you may like, some you may not like. And this is your chance to process them and understand what were you trying to suppress with the urge. And I'm going to give you some examples that clients have given me. So these are clients that have sat with their urges and then they had thoughts and feelings come up and they realized what they were trying to suppress by giving into the urge. So for example, some have found that they're lonely. Others have found that there's a fear of feeling their real genuine feelings because they thought they might go into a deep, dark black hole and never be able to get back out. Others realize they're really trying to hide from their relationship problems, their frustration at work, and some just a general feeling of lack. So, are those feelings pleasurable to confront? No, they're not. But if you do and you process them, you will get to the other side of them and you will be in control of your thoughts and your feelings instead of trying to suppress them with urges, which is really just this vicious cycle that has such a huge impact on our psychological health as well as our physical health. Now, what I'm going to do is give you 4 examples on how you can allow your urges and respond to them. Number 1, pretend that you're talking to someone else who has never experienced an urge before. How would you describe how it feels? Where do you feel it? And what are you thinking? Number 2, watch the experience from across the room. This creates distance between you and the urge, and you can experiencing it like it's actually happening to someone else, and that may help you process it better as well. Number three, hold the urge in a place of peace and be present with it. Pretend to hold it in your hand and approach it with childlike curiosity. And number four, open up to the emotion, allow it, and move forward. Now, I have a few questions for you to ask yourself that will help you understand your urges. So if you are prepared to write these down, please do. And here they are. How do you usually respond to an urge? Do you try and resist your urges? What urges do you have to eat or to do most? Why do you think this is? And what do you imagine allowing the urge will be like? Now, if there's any of this information that you want that you weren't in a position to write down, or maybe I moved a little bit quickly, then please email me and I would be happy to provide you with it. And our email address is coaching@connorwellnessclinic.com. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video.